Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you in on an old family recipe here today. Something that we've been doing on the homestead here for, as near as I can figure, this recipe is over 150 years old, maybe older than that. My family immigrated here from Ireland in 1820. This recipe is what the family has always called head cheese, but we don't use any part of the head of anything. As you can see, we've got a nice roast of beef and we've got a roast of pork. Now, along with beef and pork, you can throw in moose, deer meat, any other kind of meat that you choose to put in. So all we're going to do here, get a little bit of water in the pan, just for some moisture. We're going to get the two roasts set in here. And then lots of chopped onion. And believe me, this is not all the onion that's going in this. If you don't like onion, this isn't the recipe for you. If you do like onion, this will be one of your favorite recipes in the future, I guarantee. Because this is so good when it's cooked down. So we're going to get the rest of this onion in here. Along with the onion, liberal amount of salt and pepper for starters, because this is going to cook a long time. This recipe here is probably well suited for slow cookers. We've never done it in a slow cooker, but this is going to take a day and a half to cook. Now, the key ingredient to this is good old summer savory. This is a herb, if any of you aren't familiar with it. We grow it here. It air dries very easily. It's got a wonderful flavor to it and a nice smell to it. And that has been one of the keys. I think because summer savory is such an easy herb to grow in a colder climate. I'm here in New Brunswick, Canada. Summer savory is just so easy to grow and dry. It was probably one of the major herbs for pioneer families. And there you have it right there. Now, I'm going to put this in the oven, 350. We're going to make sure it has enough liquid stays onto it to get this meat broken down completely. I want it thoroughly roasted before we start any further steps in the process. And we're going to pop it in the oven here and let it go for at least 2 or 3 hours. And then we'll be back. Okay, so the two roasts have cooked for about 4.5 hours. This is the next morning. Now what we're going to do is break the roast down into small pieces. Like I say, this is a very old family recipe. Apparently somebody back in the back a few generations didn't like the thoughts of using anything from a pig's head to make head cheese. So they started doing this, using just roasts. The end product looks like head cheese, but you don't have the thoughts that you're eating anything off of a pig's head or a cow's head or anything else. Good. I'm going to transfer this to another pot. The next stage of cooking is going to take place on top of the stove, not in the oven.
And we have to add onions and summer savory too.
Yes. By the time this is fully cooked down, it'll have probably 6 good-sized onions in it. This is the piece of the roasted beef. From this point on, as far as adding the, now what she's doing here is removing any fat that's in the roast. You don't want Don't want any fat or gristle left in at this point. But from this point on, what we do is, as far as adding salt and pepper, summer savory, or onions, we kind of go by taste, because at this point the meat is fully cooked. It's just a matter of we're going to stew it all together, break it down, so that there is, it completely mixes the beef with the pork, as well as if you have any wild meat that you want to add to it. But we just, you just kind of go by taste from this point on. This is a fairly well seasoned dish. I mean, the flavor of the summer savory and the salt and pepper, and the onions, it's strongly flavored, and I suspect the reason being that 150 years ago there wasn't a lot of spices and flavors available, and so this was kind of a dish that they done once in a while as kind of the substitute to what we would be looking for if we were eating out at a restaurant or whatever. You're looking for a little difference in the flavor. This was definitely different than just eating a roast beef or a pork chop. A lot of time goes into the preparation of this particular dish. Okay, so now the meat is all shredded. We're just going to mix the beef and pork together now. And then, like I say, we'll add 5 to 6 medium-sized onions, salt and pepper. We'll start out with a teaspoon or 2 of each, and another handful of summer savory. We'll add enough water to probably 2 or 3 cups of water, because we're going to let this simmer down. We're going to add back in the broth that came off the original roast. That's got the onion and summer savory seasoning into it from where we roasted it. And then this will go back on the stove and simmer for probably 3 to 4 more hours. Now here we have the bowl of head cheese reducing down. We've added a fair amount of water, and we're running this on the electric stove. Normally we make this dish in the winter time when we've got the wood stove going, so it can just sit there and simmer away all day, and you're not running electricity to keep it going. But sometimes in summertime it's nice to have a fresh dish of this. So here we have the final product, all cooked down, stewed together. As you can see, you've got the pork, the whiter colored meat. You've got the beef, the summer savory. The onions are pretty much cooked right into the meat there. And check it for salt and pepper if you want more flavor to it. You can see the little bits of summer savory around through there. A little bit right there on top of the pork. There is nothing on earth has a better flavor than this stuff right here when you cook this down. Now, one of the advantages to this is that you can pack this into a dish. If you get a covered container, you can pack it, and any that you don't use, put it in the freezer. This stuff will freeze and keep for quite some time. You can take it out, cut it in squares, eat it cold, warm it up. I really prefer it warm. Right out of the pot like this here is when I think it tastes the best. But I know I can remember my mother and some of the older folks in the family making this over the years, and they'd make a great big roast pan full. Maybe use you know, a 3 or 4 roasts that would be 4 to 5 pounds each, and so they'd have quite a bit of head cheese by the end of the process. And so they'd just pack it into pans and freeze it, and it can come out and be cooked up, warmed up, whatever. Or like I say, eaten cold. You could throw it in your lunchbox, take it to the woods, take it out around the farm, whatever you were doing. Just an old time recipe. Pioneer head cheese. Good stuff.